Chris with Coldbreak here with another customer question. He asks, on the Jockey box, the faucet-looking things under the pouring faucets, in some of the pictures they are blocked with a white plug. Are these just for draining the lines when done, or do they have a different purpose? If we order one, when can you ship? We are a new brewery, and we have our first fest to attend in early June. All right, let's talk about the inputs and outputs on the Jockey boxes. Our standard Jockey boxes will come with an input on the front or the back. So the standard way to make a Jockey box is having a rear input. So let's say this 3-tap has a rear input, so you don't see the inputs at all on here. So if you flip the Jockey box around, this is where your keg attaches to, okay? So it comes from your keg to the coupler, and let's bring up the full system. So this would be a front input where it leaves the keg, the coupler, the beer leaves the coupler and goes through the line and to your input. Now, we made these front input Jockey boxes because breweries were asking for a better way to present their Jockey box. They don't want their customers seeing all the lines. And so if we go back to our website here, that's not the one, sorry. Let's make that go away, bring up our website. We'll go to the wall, pictures wall. So here's what it looks like in real life. The brewers are usually standing back behind a table, and at like a beer festival, the customers are walking up to them to their table. And the rear input Jockey boxes, you'll see the customers would see the lines, and they didn't want that, right? So they asked for a different side input on the front side. So always behind the table here, it's always a mess, right? There's kegs everywhere, there's lines everywhere, and they just wanted a better way to kind of hide it all. So this next picture here, here's another front input with the drip trays below it, and the lines fit nicely between the Jockey box and our drip tray. And from the customer side of it, here's what they see, okay? So as they're walking up, they just see a nice branded Jockey box, if that's the direction that you go, or just a plain Jockey box, but they don't see any of the beer lines, right? And so this is a nice experience for the customer. This is a mess for the brewer, but he doesn't care because the customer doesn't see any of that, right? So that's the difference between a front input and a rear input. And they're built exactly the same way. So there is no difference in them. It's really just where you want the mess, right? Let me see if I can find another. I think there's another one in here where, forgive me here. Let's bring the website back up. So this would be a front input Jockey box, okay? So the inputs are on the back. You don't really see them. And so when you're trying to decide whether it's a front input or a rear input, really the only thing that you're doing is saying, where do I want the mess? And where, like if you're at a mobile bar, right, or a catering company, and your customer is going to see the Jockey box and they're going to see the taps, pick a rear input, right? That way the lines are hidden and all they see is this nice, beautiful tap. If you're a brewery that is, you're a bartender and your customer's coming up to you and the Jockey box is between the bartender and the customer, then you want a front input and keep all the mess to your side. So that's really the only reason that we do that. Otherwise, they're built exactly the same way. You can't go wrong with either of them. It's just where you want the mess. And then the other part of his question was, when can we ship? Typically, we build to order, so it's the guys can get them out within 24 hours, usually within a business day, depending on how busy we are and if we've got all the parts and pieces in stock, which we usually do. So it's usually a 1 business day turnaround for us. But if it's any longer than that, we'll usually reach out and tell you, hey, we're missing this part, missing this piece. It's going to be a day or 2 before we ship it. But yeah. So any other questions? Fire them off. Support@coldbreakusa.com.